Hello everyone, welcome back to knowledge sharing sessions. In previous session we have seen about what is Maven, how to install or download Maven and how to set up environment variables for Maven. So in this session we are going to discuss on what are life cycles of Maven, what is a phase and what is a plugin and what are goals that are defined for Maven. And in the next session, we will be discussing on what is form.xml and some sample project on Maven and the structure of the Maven when you create it in Eclipse. So watch this video till the end. So most of us will not be aware of what is exact life cycle of a Maven is and what are phases, what are plugins and what are goals. Most of us will have a knowledge of creating a Maven project and running the Maven um, pom.xml file, but the internal working or the technology behind the life cycle phases, these most of us will not be aware of it. So watch this video till this end. This is not a practical video, but to gain some hands on so that you will be more familiar with the theoretical part, and then it will help you when it comes to practical implementation of Maven projects and Maven lifecycle. So, jumping to our session, firstly, you have to remember these four terminologies when you are working with Maven, whether it might be a developer or whether it might be a tester. For all of them, these four terminologies are common. One is a life cycle, other one is a phases, and other one is plugins, and the next one is goals. So all these four are interconnected to each other and they are interrelated to each other as well. That's the reason in a picture I have put a connection between all the four attributes of a Maven. Okay, so let's jump on to what is a Maven life cycle first, and then we'll be seeing phases, plugins, and goals. Now, in the previous session, I have already defined what is a Maven and what is the use of Maven and all those. If you haven't seen that video, I'll just paste the link in the description box. You can watch that video. That's the first introduction video, so that it will help you to carry out this session as well. So what is this life cycle? So generally, you might have heard about software testing life cycle or something. You have a different phases, right? So even in the Maven as well, there are different phases uh, that are being used. Okay, so it's a process of building and distributing a particular project. So as we defined in the previous session that Maven is a project management tool. So in order to maintain that project in a particular manner, you have to have a particular life cycle defined so that it will run cycle by cycle. So this will be done by a pom.xml file. We will be seeing that with an example, practical example in the next session. So there is a pom.xml file which is automatically created when you create a Maven project. So in that pom.xml file, you will be defining all the lifecycle properties, plugins, goals, and phases. Okay. So basically Maven has three life cycles. One is a default life cycle which handles the project deployment, and next one is a clean life cycle which handles the project cleaning and removing any unwanted files or some buffer values and all those things. And the third one is site life cycle which handles the creation of project site documentations. So whenever you are deploying your application, if at all you have to define some documentations related to that, this site life cycle will help to carry out that. Next, with this life cycle, you have to learn the phases as well. Okay. Before that, let's see what is the phases of default life cycle. Okay. See, these are the phases. You have a different phases. So these are the phases: validate, compile, test, package, verify, install, and deploy. Okay. So if you just need to validate your project, you can use validate. If at all, if you want to compile the source code, That mean whatever the class files that you have, I mean whatever the code, Java code you have written, if you want to compile those, then you will be using this compile. So don't get into too much technical things of it. We are going to see it practically. Just understand what is what. That's it in this session. So that we will be doing it practical in the next sessions. Okay. Next, test. If you want to test your code, then you will be using a test phase. These phases will be defined in a pom.xml file. And package. So as defined in the first session, if you want to package your um, project into a jar or var or any other format, zip format, then you'll be using this packaging phase. Okay, verify. So if you need to check results of a test, you will be using verify phase. Okay, this is all post validation. This verify is a post validation after running your regression test or any other test. Okay, and the next one is install. So this phase will install all the packages to your local and for the use of dependency in other project. That mean the whatever the Maven project you have, it that will be can be used as an dependency for the another project. That's the great facility of Maven. Okay, and the next one is deploy. Usually, when whenever you want to deploy, you basically deploy into QA, stage, prod environments, right? So to use this phase, you definitely you need to have a particular environment defined, and then it will go phase by phase. What it does is exactly it copies all the packages into a remote repository for sharing it to developers, and then where the application will be in live whenever all those packages are copied to particular environment. Okay, this is a deployment phase. Next, we have seen a plugins as well. So now we are going to see how these plugins are and how it is defined. So if at all you need to see these phases, you can refer to the link that we have here. Let me uh, let me show you so that you will be aware of it. So always refer to this Maven official web page for any queries or for any um, code that you need. Okay. Okay. Go to Google and type here sorry, Maven Life Cycle phases. Okay, you can see, so go to this official web page and you can see the build life cycle phases. So this is the default life cycle. Okay, and here you can clearly see the default life cycle handles the project management, the clean life cycle handles the project cleaning, and the site life cycle handles the creation of project site documentation. So these are phases which you are seeing here is a default phase. Okay, so you can refer this document which is very helpful. Okay, and plugin. Okay, what's the plugin? See here, what's the definition they have given. The second way to add goals to phases is to configure plugins in your project. So plugins are artifacts and provide goals to Maven. Okay, so you can observe in this picture clearly we have a phases already known. I mean, we already have an idea that I need to compile. For example, say you need to only compile and test, then I will be using these two phases. Okay, and inside that phase, see, you should have a compiler and compile, and for test you need to use a plugin called Surfire plugin, and then the goal is a test. So ultimately, the thing which you have to remember here is goal is the one which is finally executing in our project. Okay, in order to execute these goals, you have to use a plugin. Okay, so you can see if you want to test, then you have to use a Surefire plugin, and we will see it in the example in a pom.xml. Whenever we are discussing about pom.xml, then we will be seeing the syntax of how to define these goals and how to run your project in such a way. Okay, so now you just got an idea of what is a phase, plugin, and a goal. Okay, finally you can see here our requirement is met by goal. Each plugin is associated with one or more goal. You can define as many goals as in your plugin. Okay, you can define test compile in a plugin with separated with a that plugin attribute. Okay, so this is all about plugin. Okay, now coming to our second life cycle, it's a clean life cycle. So the phases for a clean life cycle is pre-clean, clean, and post-clean. What is mean by pre-clean? If you want to execute processes needed prior to your project cleaning, then you will be using pre-clean. Clean means if you it will remove all the files generated by a previous build. Okay, post clean means it will execute processes needed to finalize the project cleaning. Okay, so that's the clean life cycle phases. So simple phases, three phases. If you want to look at those phases, you can refer to this link. And the next one is site life cycle phases. So this has four phases. One is pre-site, other one is site, other one is post-site, other one is site deploy. So pre-site will execute processes needed prior to actual project site generation. Okay, and site will generate site's documentation as I said earlier, and post-site will finalize the site generation and will prepare for site deployment. Okay, and site deploy will deploy the generated site documentation to the specified web server. So this site lifecycle is basically about complete documentation of a project which will be helpful for their purpose to read. Okay, so that is, most of the time we will not be using this life cycle site life cycle, but you have to compulsory remember clean life cycle and a build life cycle. Okay, so to recap what we discussed now, we have discussed on life cycle, what is life cycle, what are phases, what are plugins, and what are goals. Okay, so in the next session we will be creating one sample project, and will be seeing how that pom.xml is generated and how that structure is looking like, and also we will discuss on the Maven structure that is created once we create a Maven project. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. Hope you liked the session. Please like, subscribe, and please share with your friends. And if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment in the description box. See you in the next session. Thank you and have a nice day.